Monday, another week here at the Damage Report here on the Preport. Nanette Snowden, hello, welcome. Yes, everyone, it is going to be a fast little pre-show. So we are in the post-Sophie period. We've got an awesome new producer who's going to be coming on in just a couple of weeks, but it's a little bit chaotic behind the scenes because we've lost such an amazing part of the team. So please be understanding over the next few weeks with the timing of things. But we do have to talk about this. I saw a great, useful question. Why are we talking about Joe Rogan? It's probably intended rhetorically, but my serious answer would be because for some reason he's one of the most popular podcasters in the world, and he's openly advocating for people to vote for a party for, as the title says, the worst possible reason to do so. One that matters to me and to my family. And so we're going to be talking about that. Just briefly, though, let's mention that daily COVID case counts are below 90,000. It continues to drop, admittedly, very slowly. Deaths still closer to 500 than 400, so that is frustrating. A little bit more frustrating is the fact that the gas prices are now ticking down a fraction of a penny a day. You know, they're 5 cents down from last week, but we're not getting the 2 cents a day that we were just a couple of weeks ago, so that's not great news. The fact that the Artemis moon rocket launch had to be scrubbed, so that's bad news. It would be cool to see something, inspirational happening in space. I'm sure we'd all appreciate that. The fact that Sophie left to go work on Tim Pool's music videos, that is depressing. I mean, look, he could use the talented help. I'm not a music expert, but I think he could use the assistance. Anyway, we're going to jump into a couple more stories. Please hit the like button if you haven't already so that people know we're live and they can join up with the few minutes we have remaining. And then we're going to jump into our main story. Let's see, Kathy Harvey's been here for 16 months, says, we will miss you, Sophie. Well, I don't think she's watching the stream probably, but yes, she will be missed. So, unfortunately, yes, that launch has been called off. I know a lot of people, feel free to let me know. Scale of 1 to 10, how much do you care about space stuff happening? I know for a lot of people, a lot of progressives, I think, it's like the last thing that they think we need to be focusing on or putting our attention into or let alone spending money on. And I get it, but I do still think that we need big things to motivate our species. Whether they can successfully motivate our species is a different question altogether. Like, I want us to be... Imagine if we were a nation who was like, you know what? We are going to engage with space. We're going to use it as a testing ground to solve real problems that exist on Earth right now that has happened historically. That's been sort of the story of the space program. It could be that again. Space travel doesn't have to be just a massive boondoggle for billionaires. It doesn't have to be that way. But anyway, and maybe it's just something that I'm thinking about because I've been doing a lot of writing sci-fi recently. Actually, coming up 3 days on my Patreon, patreon.com/JohnRoll. I'm going to be releasing my first sci-fi short story. It's called The Grind. Very excited about it. I've been writing more stories in this same shared world, so maybe that's just why I'm hyped. But anyway, it would be cool if Artemis eventually did get off the ground. Super fast little political story. Do you recall the woman most famous for getting COVID from a Rudy Giuliani fart? That would be Jenna Ellis. She had one of the dumbest comments on the FBI raid of Mar-a-Lago. She says, do you want to know why they raided Mar-a-Lago? It's because Liz Cheney lost her primary. Now, if that seems silly, well, it is. But what she's saying is, the January 6th thing, that road to attacking Trump is gone for some reason. Those hearings were devastating to Trump, and they're coming back, by the way, this coming month. You got that to look forward to. More good news. But they're saying that because Liz Cheney is now hurting, they need something, so they raided him. So because Liz Cheney lost her primary, months and months and months ago they asked for these documents, and Trump refused to give them in. It's a great theory from one of the most talented leagues, Joe Rogan. So he was talking with Aaron Rodgers, of all fucking people, about COVID, and they're complaining about the fact that things were shut down because that's what matters to them. The lives don't matter so much. So anyway, Rogan says, I hope there are lessons learned in this because this is a new thing. We have never had this before, talking about the pandemic. No one is alive today has ever experienced a true pandemic, and I'm hoping that now this is over, people are going to recognize that some serious errors were made and not repeat those. That's the best you can get out of it. I want to be super clear. He's not talking about the errors that got over 1 million fucking people killed. He's talking about, well, briefly things were shut down in a particular way that I thought was excessive. And I really would have hoped that the economy could have been roaring, because that seems better. Doesn't really fucking affect me, but it seems better than saving lives. And anyway, he said, he was asked what people should do about it. He says, vote Republican. And he says you should vote Republican for people like Ron DeSantis, who he says would make a good president, specifically because of their approach to COVID, which was to not fucking do a damn thing. And for the 70 to 80,000 people who died just in Florida, their families, oh, I had a family member die in Florida. The idea that Ron DeSantis, who has failed in a lot of fucking ways, enthusiastically failed, repeatedly failed, but has failed in no way worse than in dealing with COVID and willingly sacrificing tens of thousands of Floridians because he thought it would help him run for president in 2024, the idea that that would be why you would support him, and coming out of the pandemic, that if you're looking for lessons to learn, of all of the fucking possible lessons, we probably should have let people congregate more. Is the fucking lesson you're gonna learn from that, Joe Rogan? But it is. That is what he told his millions of followers. And I love the 1,200 of you who are here right now who seem to fucking care about this stuff. That's great. But understand that for every one of you, there's 100 or 1,000 people listening to Rogan and thinking, yeah, he nailed it. We really did go too hard against the pandemic. We really should have lost 1.5, 2 million people, maybe 3, maybe we could have gotten to 5. If we had only spent the entire 2020 just clustered in tight groups coughing into each other's mouths. Because that's the alpha thing to do. That's what real men do, I guess. It is bad enough that they made all the mistakes along the way, and I don't just mean the politicians, I do mean people like Rogan, who used his platform to spread misinformation. But to come out of it and be like, yeah, no, we nailed it, but the people who didn't nail it are those who wanted to stop people from dying. Great. So anyway, that is why we're talking about Joe Rogan, unfortunately. But with that said, we are unfortunately also out of time. The watch list is now live with J.R. Jackson, youtube.com/watchlist2it, twitch.tv/tyt. I'm going to be going live in 1 hour with Francesca Fiorentini. It's going to be pretty awesome, so I hope to see you there. Thank you all for joining us on this pre-port, and I will see you soon.